So tonight's presentation is going to be on the 63 zone coverage concepts and how I teach them. Just specifically the zone concepts that I like to use within the 63 defense, but also some teaching and tactical things that I like to go over with my team and get those incorporated within the team. I'm also going to be talking about some calls that I like to make within the zone coverage concepts to adjust them or adapt to the offenses I'm facing. So that's really what we're going to be talking about tonight. So the primary responsibilities of the secondary for me, for what I look for within my secondary on defense is, one, I want to prevent the long run by converging on the ball when it breaks into the second level. I want to prevent the vertical pass, and I want to reduce the pass completions down to a bare minimum. And I also want to create turnovers and intercept as many passes as possible. And those are two different things. And what I mean by that is, obviously, when we converge on the ball, we want our second person coming in and going for the strip, get the ball out of there if it is completed. So I always tell the kids that just because a receiver caught the ball doesn't mean he's gonna end up with the ball. That we have to make every attempt possible to get the ball out of his hands. And it does two things for us. One, it creates turnovers, and it allows us an opportunity to recover the ball and turn the ball back over to our offense. But secondly, it also is going to slow those receivers down because now they have to become more aware of protecting the ball. And running backs really spend the majority of the time learning how to protect the ball. Oftentimes, receivers are not taught those same responsibilities. So it more than likely you're going to create a lot of your turnovers by stripping the ball out of receivers' hands than you are the running backs. So we spend a good amount of time teaching our secondary, all of our defenders really, how to go after the ball and create turnovers. And then finally, when we do create turnovers, we want to score with the ball. It's not just about handing the ball off to our offense. If we have the potential to get vertical down the field and score, then we want to do that. So those are the primary responsibilities of the secondary. So what's zone coverage? For me, in the nutshell, it's basically defend the ball on the field. That's really what zone coverage is about. Whereas in man coverage, you're defending a specific man. So with zone coverage, what you're doing is you're keying on who has the ball, specifically the passer, and then you're going to defend your space or your field. That's what zone coverage is in a nutshell for me. Once the defense determines that it's passed, the secondary and the linebackers, they need to drop and defend the field and move as a unit. And this is where I really think a lot of coaches miss the ball on, as far as how complex or how hard it is to coach zone. It really isn't that hard. If you just boil it down and look at what you're doing, is you're teaching your secondary and your linebackers how to move as a unit and how to maintain spacing and then defend the ball. And I really think technically it might be hard to initially teach it, but the scheme of it is very easy to teach. And I think where a lot of coaches overplay the man is easier to teach than zone, really what they're doing is they're not really telling you the whole truth about how hard it is to actually teach man scheme compared to zone scheme. Whereas man scheme, to me personally, I like facing teams that play man coverage when I coach offense, because I know that if I'm running the ball, that I can run certain defenders off by the way we run our routes. In zone coverage, you can't do that. So whenever we face zone teams, good zone teams that play good solid zone coverage and good run defense principles, it's much harder to run the ball against them. So my mindset always works on that principle. Deep defenders, whether you're in cover 1, 2, 3, or 4, you got to stay between the end zone and the receivers. So if you're in cover 1 and you're playing man, if you're playing man under or zone under, that cover 1 free safety has got to stay deeper than the deepest receiver. If you're in cover 2, those 2 safeties have to play deeper than the deepest receivers at all times. They always want to keep their back to the ball if at all possible. So one of the things we really stress to our kids is, if you need more cushion, you get it. Don't give up your cushion quickly and don't bite down on runs when you don't have to, because your primary responsibility if you're in deep coverage is to play pass first.